How did one woman manage to transform the art of magic? She started as a magician's assistant and she became the most famous female magician in history. Her career in show business spanned over half a century. Her life is an example of passion, love and persistence, which we can all learn from. My name is Alexander Herrmann, I'm a magician and a historian. Today I am excited to tell you the story of the Queen of Magic, Adelaide Herrmann. This episode is produced in partnership with the Vanishing Inc. Let's begin. When Adelaide was a kid in London, she saw a trapeze performer, and this was the moment she realized that she dreamt of having a stage career.
For me, life held no higher or more absorbing ambition than to sway back and forth in the air over the heads of an applauding multitude. That meant real glory.
She would not become a trapeze performer, but she would fly above the astonished audience. At first she became a dancer and got engaged to an American comedian, but life had other plans. A friend of hers invited her to see a magic show in Egyptian Hall, a theatre in London. There she saw the show of Alexander Herrmann. For one of his tricks he needed a ring, so Adelaide gave him her engagement ring, which he destroyed and later restored. At this moment she didn't know that she would not need this ring anymore. They met again some months later on a ship to America. Herrmann was traveling to perform, and so was Adelaide. This time she was a part of the Lady Velocipede troupe and was performing stunts while riding this 19th century bicycle. The poor comedian was forgotten. Adelaide and Alexander got married, and Adelaide's career in magic began. She helped Herrmann revolutionize the way magic was presented and turn his show into a spectacular performance. They had stunning decorations built for every act and introduced a full orchestra that played beautiful accompaniments for every trick. Her job was not easy. She was a magician's assistant, she was a dancer, and she also had to perform dangerous stunts. During the show she was cremated, she had to fall down through a trapdoor in the stage, and she even took part in a human cannonball act. And she often had the soles of her shoes set on fire because of exploding gunpowder, and as a result she suffered from painful burns. But hard work paid off. Adelaide and Alexander enjoyed the fame and the glory that she had dreamt of as a kid. During their travels in Europe and South America, they were met by presidents and emperors, by kings and queens, by thousands of fans who paid with money, presents, applause and smiles. Adelaide loved Herrmann. She admired him.
In this field of magic have been men who made of it an honoured profession, and others who promoted it to a science. But Herrmann elevated it to the dignity of an art. For he was, above all, an artist. He possessed real creative genius.
So one can only imagine what kind of shock it was when Alexander passed away. She was 43 and she was left with a team of 16 people, tons of magic props and not much money because, well, Alexander used to lead quite a lavish lifestyle. There was no time to waste. She either had to sell everything or take over the show.
It is among the most pathetic aspects of the stage, of which the general public knows little or nothing, that it allows no time for the indulgence of private sorrows. Hearts may be torn, bitter tears may be shed, but we of the stage have a jealous mistress in the public, which demands that we be gnawing at the soul.
Adelaide informed magician Leon Herrmann, nephew of Alexander, that he had to urgently come to America from Paris. She introduced him to the public as the successor of her husband. Leon was a good performer, but everybody wanted to see the second Alexander, and Leon was not that good. 3 years later, Adelaide and Leon parted ways. Already during their work with Leon, Adelaide showed everyone that she was more than just a magician's assistant. She did something that most magicians had been afraid of and are still afraid of today: the bullet catch. This act is actually dangerous, and by this I mean that multiple people were killed while attempting to perform it. This is why Adelaide did not really like when her husband did it, but there she was, soon after his death, standing on stage in front of a rifle squad, the first woman in history to catch bullets with her bare hands. Adelaide started performing on her own. Press wrote, "A more beautiful, unusual and graceful attraction has not found its way into impoverished vaudeville in many years." Not only did she perform big illusions and dances, but she also performed sleight of hand. Her billiards ball act was a huge success. Even a former rival of Alexander Herrmann magician, Harry Keller, sent her a letter where he wrote, "Your manifestation of the billiards balls was the finest piece of handwork I ever saw." What Adelaide did was truly astonishing. She came up with a 2.5-hour-long magic show, and this entire show was pantomime. Not a single word was spoken. She changed roles from a Japanese princess to a witch, from Cleopatra to Cagliostro. She performed in the best theaters in the world: Folies Bergère in Paris, the Hippodrome in London and the Winter Garden in Berlin.
Magic possesses qualities of interest that are exclusive. It is for the young and for the old, for the lovers of art and beauty, and has the fascination of the inexplicable that will always make it interesting.
She rebuilt one of her husband's most spectacular illusions, the Noah's Ark. First, the wooden ark was shown empty, then it was filled with water through the chimney, and then out of the chimney came cats, leopards, zebras, lions, tigers, and even elephants. In fact, various animals were represented by dogs of different sizes, wearing costumes, but they looked very real. I mean, as real as a dog in an elephant costume could possibly look like. Adelaide loved animals. During her travels with her husband, she always wanted to buy an animal if she saw that it was not treated well. At some point, she even adopted 2 ostriches, but later concluded,
Ostriches are all right to look at from a distance, but as travelling pets, they have nothing to commend them.
Considering her love for stage, magic and animals, what happened in 1926 was more than devastating. In summer 1926, Adelaide Herrmann, at the age of 71, was working night and day to prepare for the new season. She built a completely new act and anticipated opening with it in Chicago. On the 7th of September, she received a phone call. There had been an explosion and a fire in the warehouse. All her props and 200 animals were there. Only 1 cat and 2 dogs survived the fire. Noah's Ark was destroyed. Before she could find and secure the remaining magic props, they were stolen by thieves, for whom of course it was nothing more than a set of metal parts, glass plates and wires. The show seemed to be over. Later in her memoirs, she wrote about the thoughts that she had at the time.
Could I, with everything gone, start all over again? Yes, it was as though Herrmann himself whispered in my ear, "Don't give up."
2 months later, Adelaide Herrmann was performing her new show, Magic, Grace and Music, featuring illusions, dancing and sleight of hand. One day after a charity show in the Rhode Island hospital, one of the kids asked Adelaide, "Please, fairy godmother, can't you make us walk quicker? If only." But for sure she did the best she could, shared joy, happiness and beauty with her spectators all over the world. Adelaide Herrmann fell many times. And even literally, she fell from a horse as they were traveling in Mexico, she fell from a velocipede in the orchestral pit, she dislocated both her shoulders as she fell down after flying out of the cannon. But no matter what happened, she stood up, smiled and kept performing, until she passed away in 1932 at the age of 79.
I do not wish to stand alone on the unique fact that I am the only prestidigitatrice on the stage today. I shall not be content until I am recognized by the public as a leader in my profession and entirely irrespective of the question of sex.
The memoirs that she wrote remained unpublished for 78 years until 2011. This is a great book which I highly recommend having on your bookshelf if you are interested in the history of magic and performing arts. I am really happy that today we see more and more women in magic. And it is a shame that for so long it has been a male-dominated profession. In the comment section, share names or links to videos of women performing magic, and if you're one of them, please share your material or your perspective and thoughts on the story of Adelaide. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Alex Herrmann, and I will see you very soon.